Samson will
Thank you,
experience.
Michelle. Next one up is Fred Kirk, which will talk about one of the biggest debates in AI, very similar to what Sol did this morning as well.
Thank you so much. So I want to start out with a quick show of hands. How many people here believe that we had the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, and through a random set of collisions that invented chemistry and eventually organic life, that matter got to a point where it became complex enough that somehow consciousness popped out of matter? How many people? Okay, so we've got, so this is the definition of a materialist, and I'm going to challenge that a little bit on the deep dive that I've been on, because I think this is the most important question. And my goal here, just want to state my intentionality up front. My goal here is to open your mind into diving into this content, because the well is very, very, very deep. I mean, just something like Buddha at the Gas Pump, podcast has over 720 episodes, been going since 2009. I'm on a plane with John, and we're talking about Joe Dispenza's book, which I'm now reading, which is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's a phenomenal read. The chapter called The Quantum You alone is worth the price of the book. And I think this is the most important and urgent question of this lifetime for us, because of a key reason. We're either on the cusp of inventing sentience, or we're not. And our chase to invent sentience, AGI, which is driven by fear in our rapid manic pace versus China, we'll find out ultimately what makes us most human, or if there's anything special about us at all. Do we have a soul? Is there God? Is there anything like divine inspiration? Is there a greater purpose to all of our lives? We're going to find that out in our lifetime. I really believe that. And I think that's super exciting. It's an amazing time to be alive. So let's just go back just a couple of years. November 30th, 2022, ChatGPT launches. Most of you raised your hands that you've used it, which is great. How many of you have a paid account? Okay, good. Checking the IQ of the audience. We're in good shape. I was at my reunion at Wharton in May, my 25th reunion. These are 1,000 of the smartest people I've ever been around. And Ethan Mollick, who I recommend you follow on LinkedIn, asked 1,000 people, how many of you have ChatGPT? This is May of last year. About a third of the hands went up. How many of you have paid accounts? Me and Levi, my son, were 2 of 10 hands. I was really embarrassed. I'm very proud that I went to Wharton. My mom was super proud of me for going there. The ring that I wear is from there. But I was really embarrassed. I was like, wow, you're going to get replaced by people that are much better than you with AI. And if you're not using ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude or other AI models multiple times a day, I really urge you to do so. You have to get into this play box. So now, November 30th of 2022, do you remember how long it took for the moratorium call? Do you remember the date? It was March of the next year. It was 4 months later, where Elon Musk and others were like, shut it down. Do not develop any models more powerful than GPT-4. That was just 4 months later. There are over 33,700 signatories of that moratorium letter. I thought it was ridiculous. I went on podcast and talked about how ridiculous I thought it was. My son calls AI the age of 1 billion dreams. The sunglasses I just had on my shirt, I was in Kerala in India just over the December break, and I was begging a new entrepreneur that I bought those sunglasses from to use AI. I'm like, you could be the most sophisticated sunglass shop. Use it now. Use this to increase your productivity. We have access to the majority of human-created content now in one structure, so you need to think differently in terms of how you're ultimately going to access that vast repository of content. You can ask it any question. On the plane, John did a deep research on longevity, and asked him how right was it. It was 18 pages long. He's like, it's pretty much right on the money in terms of, and he's maybe the best longevity expert that I know in the world. I think he is. So you should be diving in and using these things, but there's other forces at play that are not being talked about right now. Quantum computing. In December of last year, Google announced the Willow chip. They did a calculation on the Willow quantum computer chip that was performed in 5 minutes. They would take a classical computer, which relies on bits, ones or zeros, versus a quantum computer, which relies on qubits, which can be a 1 or 0, or a 1 and a 0, or neither. It operates based on what we know from quantum physics about waves. And it doesn't work unless quantum physics works. So we know it works because we now have quantum computer chips. That calculation that took 5 minutes on a classical supercomputer of the most powerful form we currently have on Earth would take 10 septillion years. Hey, that's 10 to the 25th. That is 725 trillion times what scientists believe the age of the universe is at 13.8 billion years. The head of quantum computing at Google, Harmit Nevin, really funny guy, you should check him out. He looks like he's straight out of a cyberpunk novel, always wears sunglasses on his head. He's this fun German guy. At TED, he was showing a stable calculation on a quantum computer, and he was saying the only thing we can figure out at Google is that this is computing in a different dimension. He said the same thing in the press release in December. So I actually think that it actually is using the quantum computing power of the universe. And that's going to accelerate a lot of things. How much can accelerate things? We have Q Day coming up, or Quantum Supremacy Day, which will happen by the end of this decade or by early 2030, according to IBM, Microsoft, and Google, which are the 3 most advanced companies in quantum computing. What is Q Day? Q Day means when all cryptography, including all the cryptography of the NSA, is broken forever, because it's based on classical computing. If that scares you, I'm not trying to scare you, because I lead by love, I don't lead by fear. I actually think that you just need to think, hey, this is the next Y2K problem. You talked about GDPR and other things that we've had to retrofit. This is just the next Y2K problem. We're going to have quantum-based cryptography that races alongside so that the most important secrets are still kept secret. The other thing that now people are starting to talk about more and should be talking about a lot more is robotics. Robotics is just the physical manifestation of AI. And robotics are going to be ubiquitous for sure. I very much agree with Justin. They're going to let us do all types of things, and we're going to have a lot of intentionality, a lot of conscious capitalism in terms of the way that we use them. Everybody here is in a socioeconomic class where you're going to be early adopters of the original, household robots that'll be able to do everything for you. It's inevitable this is happening. We're going to have that future. And it'll ultimately be a conscious choice. Like, how much do we want to make them look like humans? Do we want them to have lifelike skin? Do we want to create sex robots? Do we want to do all of these things? And these are really, really important questions for humanity. This is where you kind of evoke the Blade Runner scenario or the Matrix and other types of things like that. And so what I really believe deeply is that we're on the cusp of really understanding what makes us most human. And we're going to have to use our collective consciousness, starting here and starting in other places. Sol, your presentation was fantastic. We're going to have to use that to create the future of abundance that I really believe we are going to create. Like, if I could just pull that into, 15 to 20 years from now, you'd see Sol, smiling on this. We're going to have that future of abundance, unlimited energy, unlimited food. And that's going to be incredible. And I want that future for our children. I want that future for all of us. But we have to work and create that together. And I personally believe, since I asked you what you believe, I believe that consciousness is something we receive. I do not believe it just magically popped out of matter. I deeply believe in God. I deeply believe that we have a soul. And I think the beautiful thing is we're going to find out. And my son believes the opposite, right? He is very much a materialist. We have very long discussions about this. And he's 99th percentile IQ, so he's really fun for me to debate with. He challenges me a lot. He's smarter than me. So one request I have for you is I set my intentionality in Kerala last year that this year would be the journey of inner meaning. It'd be the inner journey. And I would love any books you recommend. I would love any podcast you recommend. I'm really deep diving on this because I really want to understand the nature of our reality and consciousness. And when Dimas Hassibis was on stage with Chris Anderson at TED last year, Chris Anderson asked him, he said, what's all this for? Like, now you're in charge of everything AI at Google, not just DeepMind. Like, why are you doing this? What's your purpose? And he said, I want to understand the nature of our reality at the Planck scale resolution. And this is what the most powerful people in AI want to understand. And I think that they want to understand it because I think they have a deep yearning to understand actually what makes us most human. Some of them will kind of say we're living in a simulation and it's just a quantum computer virtual reality game and people are just NPCs and all these very dehumanizing terms. I believe we're living in a reality that is divinely inspired. I believe we all have a divine purpose. I believe that Man's Search for Meaning had it right, Viktor Frankl, that we need to find that purpose, and once we find that, it animates us. And I encourage you, if you think I'm crazy for saying this, and if your materialist paradigm is like, no, matter pops out. I mean, consciousness pops out matter. Go and do the work. The more you dive into quantum physics, the more spiritual you'll actually become. Max Planck became very spiritual as a result of diving into quantum physics. And Albert Einstein, it really challenged him and tried to disprove quantum entanglement. And the more he tried to disprove it, the more Albert Einstein proved it. And that really shattered him to the point where he said, I choose essentially for matter to be my religion, because he didn't want to reconcile between classical science and quantum science. But the two need to come together, and I really think that science and spirituality will ultimately become intertwined in the future. And I'm not talking about religious dogma. I'm talking about spirituality, which is different. So thank you.